What? Did we just become best friends?
Yeah!
One is a t-shirt queen, and the other is an SEO and web developing ninja. And both of these squirrels are a little nuts. You're now listening to the More Gooder Ideas podcast, a show for the small business hustlers worldwide, encouraging you to be your most authentic self. This is the place where your whole story matters. Come for the tips and stay for the fun. Now, your hosts, Angie Patterson and Jay Smith.
You may see a familiar face this week. That's mine. But the face that you're not familiar with is somebody who you've heard lots about at this point, our invisible co-host, Cassidy.
Not invisible today. Woo! Oh.
I was going for the applause, but that one actually worked better.
Well,
Cassidy has taken on an integral part of our podcast since the beginning, really. But now she has taken on a new role with our podcast.
Butter roll.
She's the official butter roll of More Gooder Ideas.
What can I say? Happy to be here. Do social media stuff. Very excited.
And I broached the topic with him of what do you think about Cassidy potentially helping us do that? Because I feel like you wanted to be involved in the podcast, but you didn't necessarily want to be on camera every week or whatever. And you have a real job. So you maybe don't have the flexibility in your schedule that like we do to try and figure out when we're going to meet up and stuff. Yeah. And then Jay, so I asked him to broach the topic with you at dinner, and then he ended up just telling you that that's what you were doing.
That's not how that conversation went. It was like, hey, so nice to see you. Oh my God. And then we all sat down. It went just like that, verbatim. I'm not making anything. I don't embellish anything. And we sit down, and he goes, so Angie and I decided you're in charge of social media. And I was like, okay, sure, cool. And he's like, great, sounds awesome. And I said, okay, so when do you want to meet to like talk about expectations, what you want posted, when you want to post it? He's like, I don't give a shit about that. You're just in charge. And I was like, awesome, great. This is going to be fun. And of course, I'm analytical to like a fault. So I'm sitting there like, what do I do? And how am I going to post these things? And that's when you and I ended up making a meeting and kind of figuring out what we want.
So what made you foolish enough to want to be associated with this podcast or to take on this responsibility?
Well, I worked with Susan at a previous job, and she is my quasi-mentor, if you will.
Love her.
She is an angel on earth. She is incredible. And after she left and abandoned me like a baby on a doorstep, I was like, you can't escape me. You have to meet my husband. And this was when we were working together. You have to meet my husband. And so he walks in, and I was like, who's this terrifying man? Why are you here to hurt us? And she's like, oh, no, that's my husband. I was like, oh, great. So, of course, he gets along with my husband. We're all one happily copacetic little friend group, which is great. And she comes up to me. She's like, hey, Jay started a podcast. You should totally listen to it. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I love podcasts.
Susan out there doing the Lord's work.
Honestly.
What a woman.
She is a force to be reckoned with. So I listened to it. And I was like, oh, haha, they're so funny. And you were just really funny and really sweet. And Jay was like, you have to meet Angie. You have to. And Susan, you have to meet Angie. And I was like, who is this bitch stealing my friends? Okay.
I infiltrated the friend group.
So I met you at the, it was the Schnitzelberg walk. Because,
yes, our friend-iversary, me and Jay's friend-iversary.
Yeah, Jay and Susan let me third wheel it hardcore, and I'm super happy about that. So, and I didn't believe that you were actually the way you are on camera. Like, I thought I was like, oh, this bitch is hamming it up. I'm
worse.
Super goofy and silly. No, this is you. This is your personality. So I was
and you
like,
love it.
I'm obsessed. It's fine.
Gotcha.
So I was like, well, I've always wanted to do a podcast when I was younger. I was like, I want to be on the radio station. And then the radio died.
Rip.
So I was like, well, I guess there's so many millions of podcasts, and it feels like such an oversaturated market. And then Jay said, fuck that shit. I want to hear myself talk. And I was like, well, how can I get in on this without doing any work at all?
plot twist.
And
You
then
have to
here
do
we
all the
are.
work.
And I got trapped. So
Turns out you have to do the hardest work, in my opinion.
I have no hobbies. And I was like, this is great. And I don't want a part-time job. I don't want to commit to going in a whole nother place where people expect me to have to clock in and do this. Like, I already do that for 40 hours a week. That sounds exhausting. But I did want something that would take me out of the house and I like would matter and would mean something, and where people are expecting me, but not to be like a slave to the economy and to
The expectation is
capitalism.
low. We have
Yes.
low expectations.
So this is how it ended up.
I really appreciate it. I know Jay appreciates it because Jay was trying really hard not to drag me about doing a terrible job on social media. So you saved me from that too.
Well, great. Yeah, I'm happy. I've always worn a lot of hats. My hats don't have my name on them like someone else because I know what my name is when I leave the house. But that's just a dementia. I'm not worried. It's okay. It gets better. You know, I'm not there yet. But,
And you're funny.
Oh, thanks. I think I'm funny. My husband doesn't. He'll be like, that seriously made you laugh, and I'm like, yes, that shit's hilarious. He's
If
like,
you're married to
okay.
somebody who thinks that you're funny, run.
Right,
Run
they're lying
now.
to you.
It's not meant to be.
They're lying to you. They got bodies in the basement. They're lying.
Yes, it's there's some end game there you don't want to be a part of.
But that's what makes it work. It's a balance.
So what are you, this is your first time running a social media account that is not yours.
Yes.
What are your you've literally been on the job for a week.
Yes.
So what are your initial thoughts about it?
It's harder than you think it would be, which I mean, but it's not just like head in the clouds, feet in the sand. It's so much more.
So I can't even imagine when you're speaking for somebody else's personality.
Right.
Like now you're not even coming from your point of view. You're coming from somebody else's point of view and make it sound like it's our point of view.
Yeah.
And I think that your analytical mind is beneficial to us in that way. But I can also see where it would be a hindrance of like, have I gone too far? Am I going far enough? And then also, you're going to be more interested in the literal analytics of those posts and stuff. Which again, I think is a benefit for us, but I can see how it can turn into like a worm time of, well, what's the difference between this one and this one, or what's the same? And I mean, I don't even look at the analytics for my own business, mainly because I wouldn't necessarily understand what they mean, but because I don't want to have that like barrier or whatever.
Right.
But again, I'm portraying my own personality.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little different than trying to
Yeah.
portray somebody else's personality.
Yeah, it's weird to have to tap into like the hive mind of a company.
Our hive mind is full.
It runs on Red Bull and hate, baby. Let's go. Just trying to do my best, man. And I have to think, okay, well, is this how Jay would put it? Well, no, because he's grouchy. Is this how Angie would put it? No, that's a little more silly. So I have to find like a good balance between the two because I'm new to the team, kind of, but it is, I think that's why I like the podcast so much, is because it is something that I resonate with. It is the way that I think also, where it's happy, fun, silly, goofy, haha times, but it is also like businessy.
Yeah.
So I try to approach it with both things in mind, but sometimes you miss the mark. I spelled Sean's name wrong. You know how long I sat there staring at that comment, and I was like,
Oh, God.
I did, and I'm like, I should have
Because
fact
the
checked.
other
I should have
ones-
looked.
Because the other Sean's name is spelled like that. There's two Seans, and they're spelled two different ways. And I was confused, too, because I'm like, I know I looked at your name, and that's how it was spelled, but that was girl Sean's name, which was really
Yeah.
confusing.
And they're both in the clip.
Yeah.
Technically, if you're trying to get technical about it.
But no, I hate
yeah.
that. Yeah, because you're like, and then how you like, I mean, just on your personal social media too, of like how you perceive how other people are reacting to it. Like
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff that gives me a lot of anxiety.
Yeah. In making those mistakes in social media, and Jay kind of had to reassure me and say, it's okay. Names get misspelled. If you can't edit it in the caption, life goes on. And, just do a little, sorry, I had a 50-50 shot and I missed it, whatever. And
And I
It's
see, to me,
hard.
that's more endearing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, I think that kind of shows that, like, you are a real person and you're
Yeah.
not chat GBT. But it's easy for me to say because I'm not the person who did it. If I
Right.
did it, I'd be like, "Bleh," you know, I would be sick over it.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why we appreciate you, because we could be just be like, it wasn't us.
Just pass the buck. Not me. Sorry.
It was Cassidy's fault. Blame her. What do you think now, like, or have your thoughts changed maybe over the last week when you're seeing other, specifically businesses, but maybe people's personal pages too, social media? Has that, like, changed your perspective, or have you had any?
A little bit. So, being a chronically online millennial, we do get three completely different perspectives of somebody who is more senior in his career and has spent the time and the money, made the mistakes, and it's such a gold mine of education for myself that I'm like, well, you've been through this. Is this a waste of time? I don't know. And then to come to you, where you're a mother, you're a businesswoman, you're not small potatoes time like me. Like, I'm just like, oh, I clock in every day and I clock out. Beep. You know, you're doing the damn thing. And so
Thank
we
you.
have three different perspectives of it. I'm just some goofy ass millennial person online every day. So I'm sitting here scrolling TikTok and I'm like, oh, haha, that's a funny clip of Theo Vaughn. That would make me want to listen to his podcast. I need to post things that look like that. What is engaging on social media that would make me want to listen to this podcast? So I tried to approach it in a way, and then Jay's already done a really good job of it, of just kind of like pumping out these clips that have little quips and quick little 20-30-second things that would bring you in. And I have to show my husband, like, hey, watch this. Is this funny? Would you watch that? And he's like, chill the fuck out. Like, calm down. And I'm like, no, it's important. And he's like, okay, the people either watch it or they don't. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, the internet's not real.
I mean, that was one of the things me and Jay talked about, was he had found this kind of sweet spot of where he would post stuff and it would get good amount of views. And then he posted what we thought was the funniest thing we had ever said. And it got literally 0 views. And it's like, how is that even possible that not one person came across it? And he went in and changed, like, the title and did some other things. And, like, the algorithm didn't like him that day.
Right.
And it was like, as soon as he figured out, that's what it's like being a mother, really. As soon as you figure it out, it changes again.
Game over. Yeah.
Right when I started my business, I'm like, oh, make a Facebook page, duh.
Obviously.
Gets people to like my Facebook page, duh. They'll see my stuff and they'll buy it. And I mean, almost immediately, I was like, I thought I understood
Yeah.
what was happening and what you were supposed to post. And then I think I had a lot of, like, imposter syndrome about it too, because
Oh, yeah.
you do see, especially with businesses, or like influencers, people who they are their business or their brand, a very curated social media. And that is definitely not who I am as Sandy Pants Customs, but especially me and Jay. Like, our brand is kind of that we're all over the place. And so can we find kind of a middle ground where people feel like they know what to expect, but we're also being true to ourselves, if that makes any sense?
Yes. And I think that's what draws people in. So you've said it many times, that's your tribe finds you. Like, the people who resonate with you, they find you. Draws in a lot of people too.
Yes.
Some people love the crafted, curated, neat, tidy box. Some people don't.
Yeah. And I think you have to be able to identify if that's going to work for your business.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
Because and I think me and Jay have talked about this on another episode, is like, for me, generally, my ideal customer is somebody like me, but I am not just one thing.
Right.
I love scary stuff and horror movies, and I'm a spooky girl at heart. But I'm also a basic bitch, too. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not... Some days I'm like, oh, that's what makes me so endearing, and that's what I love. But some days I do feel, like, self-conscious about it.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like,
absolutely.
dang, like, my Instagram grid is a hot mess. It looks crazy. Like, do these people even know what I do? Do they even
Right.
know who I am? Maybe I should take every picture with the same background. Or it's just, I can't have a lot more respect for people. And that was kind of my biggest takeaway after, I mean, very soon after I started my own business and was trying to like create my social media platforms, but especially after like the 1 year mark.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have such bigger respect for people that do this as their job.
Full time. Yeah.
And that have the ability to do it for other people and be successful at it, because I'm representing myself and I don't feel like I'm being successful at it or
Yeah.
understand it completely.
I can be like a spooky girl, emo goth, tattooed Betty, but I can also be a basic millennial girl, like, right? It doesn't matter what your brand is, it doesn't matter how perfect you are. That's people.
Yeah.
And they'll like you if they like you. It can be pretty toxic. And that's why you see celebrities take breaks from social media of, I got to take a break. I've got to focus on myself. Like, you do. It's exhausting. It's a full-time job. And you're adding stuff on top of it.
Right. I'll have a lot of really good ideas for what to post. And then it does exactly what I want it to do. And I start getting a lot of engagement. And then I'm like, I don't even know what to say back now. Like,
the panic sets in. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, I didn't think I'd get this far.
And did I respond like too nice to this person? So now I have to like keep that consistent of like how I respond. And so
I do that to myself. This is kind of unrelated. I do that to myself on my birthday on Facebook. People will be like, hey, happy birthday, Cassidy. And I start the day strong, like, thank you. Oh my God, me, hearts and smiley faces. And then it's all day. It keeps coming. Happy birthday, happy birthday. And I'm responding, thanks. And then it comes down to maybe like this person that I'm
like, I don't even know who you
why are we
are.
friends on Facebook? We're not that close. I knew you 10 years ago, but if I don't put a smiley face, they're gonna know.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't keep up this facade, they're gonna know. And that's the same thing with your business is like, do I engage with everybody? Do I engage with nobody? It's not black and white. It's not one or the other. It's not guardrail to guardrail. But it's also, you're a person running this business. You're a person behind the screen. So how do you choose who you engage with? How do you choose who you interact with?
And I would really like weigh out, this is your analytical rubbing off on me. I would really weigh out like in your mind, like what things, if you know, social media specifically is one of those things you're really struggling with or you need to take a step back from. Do you have the budget to hire somebody to do it? Or is it causing you so much distress, for lack of a better word, that you need to find a way to get it in your budget or find a friend? Somebody who would be willing to like barter services or barter products for it, or even just kind of push you in the right direction of, like I said, helping you schedule them so it's not so. Jay made a really good point when I was roasting him about it, which was that his business does not hinge on his social media interaction, which is great for him because he doesn't particularly like doing that, you know. Right. But you have to be able to evaluate also, is this even serving my business? You know, not that, I mean, I'm not, don't take my word for it. Most people would tell you should have a social media presence, but are you putting too much weight on your social media presence? Maybe you need to pivot into something like networking, which we've been talking about a lot, or maybe you get a billboard. Maybe you start a podcast. I don't know.
Whatever serves you in your business. If you're chronically online and you're presenting yourself a certain way and you're on 100% all the time, but you also have a customer-facing business, when you're in person and you're taking off that social media mask, essentially, are you going to suck in person? Are you going to be the same person you are? Like your persona online, is that going to be the same persona in person?
That is a really great point.
Jay. That is Jay, though. Because in person, he's fucking incredible to be around. I could talk to this man for 12 hours a day. Like, he's just hilarious and he's funny and he's multifaceted and you can talk to him about pretty much anything. And his online presence mirrors that, I feel. I feel like you can see the sarcasm in the things that he writes. You can see it in his posts. You can,
and the knowledge, the amount of knowledge
base. He's not lacking in either way. So I think for his business, especially because it is a lot of just knowing people. And yeah, LinkedIn is great because it connects you with some people that maybe you wouldn't have met in person. But it's also just business Facebook. Like, how many people on Facebook do you actually be like, hey, man, you trying to hang out? Are you coming to my birthday party? Like, I had 5 people show up to my birthday party. You know, and I've got, 200 friends on Facebook? Half these people aren't real, you know, and he does a really good job of portraying himself accurately and truthfully, which also is what makes me trust him as not just a human being or a mentor, but as a business owner. I feel confident that I could say, hey, you need a website development? Like, I know a guy who does it, and he's great, and he's honest, and he's kind, like all these different things. But having that reliable relationship and representing yourself accurately online and in person, I think is a huge deal.
Yes, that is I actually have a little anecdote about that. About who's now really becoming our fourth invisible co-host, which is my dear friend Caitlin, who we're doing an on-site with her in the next couple episodes. You guys will get to meet her finally. When we were at Corridon, I had a customer come into my booth and she said, me and Caitlin have like a collab on my website.
Right.
And she said, oh, I'm so-and-so. I ordered these t-shirts from Caitlin. I said, oh my gosh, yeah, I remember your name from your
Yeah.
order. Thank you so much. How do you know her? And she said, I don't know her. I don't know
Yeah.
who you are either. This is the first time I met you. I don't know her either. I just follow her on Instagram and I love what she does and I wanted to support her. And I was really excited because I got to tell her that Caitlin is exactly that same person in real life. Like your intuition was exactly right. Might be
Right.
disappointed in me. But she is exactly who she portrays online
Yes.
as she is in real life. And I haven't told her that yet, so I'm kind of
Surprise.
hopefully she doesn't listen to this episode so I can tell her in person. But that was something that I thought it was really powerful, and I kind of thought that to myself. I hope that if Jay is wearing one of my shirts and he's out somewhere and meets somebody who maybe follows me but hasn't met me, that he would feel that confident saying
Right.
she is exactly who she says she is
Yeah.
online. And especially when it comes to your business, because a lot of people are going to have that predisposition of questioning
Yeah.
how accurate, whether it be your products or your service or even just your personality and like your morals and whatever.
That's part of building that relationship is, well, I know I haven't had Jay design a website for me, but I know he's good. I've seen his work.
Right.
Like he's got references, he's got receipts for it.
And it's not just because I saw some stuff on Instagram.
Right, absolutely. So it's hard to build your brand, to build credibility, to be a genuine person. And whether or not social media works for you and your brand and your business is totally subjective.
So, Cassidy, we're going to wrap this up
Okay.
by asking you, what do you hope? This is week 1.
Yep.
Let's say after the first of the year, 45 days, 60 days, what do you hope to have learned or accomplished by being official social media manager?
But ultimately, I want to learn what drives engagement. Really, what is our audience in particular latching onto? What do they like to see? What are the more engaging comments? What are people talking about? What do they want to see? Or even developing a following. So I know we have listeners, but there's not a lot of commentary. We're not getting a lot of feedback from people.
Yeah.
Except for you suck.
And that's not the kind of feedback.
And of course it's like you and your mom on every post. You're like, ha ha ha, that's great. And that's awesome. I love chatting with you guys. It's super
trying
fun.
to feed the algorithm,
Right.
it.
But getting that organic interaction with people, I want to see people commenting, oh, haha, Jay's so funny, or LOL, internet, like he doesn't, kind of playing into being a part of the conversation, being our
Yes.
co-host, essentially. Because I like doing that when I'm following somebody on social media, is being a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And really gathering, building the cult, if you will. Yeah. I want to build this kind of family, or whatever name you want to put on it, this following. I want to see a significant following. I'm not going to say 100,000 subscribers, blah, 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 but I want to see people interacting and being a part of the conversation. That is what I hope for by the beginning of the year.
Well, you're basically psychic, because that's kind of how I feel too.
Yay.
Like me and Jay, and obviously you too, like we love talking to each other and we love talking about what we're talking about. And so I would like to get that feedback of different perspectives, and then also what other people want us to hear about or want us to talk about, what they want to hear about. And be able to have that kind of full circle of like, we talked about this and then somebody asked this, so we're going to talk about that, or I didn't have that perspective, let's try this. And you know, I would like to see our audience grow, but in a way of not just people liking our page or following our page, but like actually enjoying the content and getting benefit from it,
Yeah.
because like we already are getting the benefit from it, which is
Just hearing ourselves talk.
hearing ourselves talk. And like me personally, I have to like say things out loud to process them,
Yeah.
which really gets on a lot of people's nerves, specifically my husband, because he is the complete opposite of that,
Right.
you
It's like,
know.
just tamp it down.
Yeah,
It's gonna be fine.
he's like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think actually, and I'm like, I am too. That's why I'm talking, is because I'm
Listen.
trying to form the thought. And so we're already getting the benefit from it.
Yeah.
The only thing we're really not getting that I know both of us genuinely want is to know that we're helping other people,
Yeah.
or that we're bringing some kind of value to somebody else.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I like to think that we're already doing that, but it would be nice to hear it. And not just because they're saying, oh, you're great, but like you said, just engaging in general and
Yeah.
feeling like they're there with us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's probably what a lot of people want. It's not just like fame and fortune, but to have a conversation with this multitude of persons. You know, who's out there? Who's listening? It's kind of a call out to the wild of, you know, maybe you're not a small business owner. Maybe you're like me, where you're just a consumer really, or just a worker bee type of person who's interested in the inner workings of small business.
Yeah.
You know, or my husband, who has no interest in any of this stuff whatsoever, but he thinks we're funny, and maybe he gains a little tidbit out of it.
Thank you, Tyler.
You know, and
connecting
wanna
those
know
dots.
that. Yeah.
Like we talked about that with the Arnie's group, is, you know, you would think, what do any of us have in common? Well, it turns out we have this whole laundry list of things in common because we're entrepreneurs, or because we have a family, or, you know, it branches out, and kind of finding that connection with other people through doing something that we just like to do and that we enjoy doing with each other. So
yeah,
we'll come back together. Hopefully Jay will join us.
I'll bring a spreadsheet. It'll be great. It'll be very sexy. Don't worry about it.
We want to see graphs. We
Right.
want to see numbers, but
Pie charts,
maybe
tables. No, okay. Jay didn't like that one. Sorry.
we're going to have a whiteboard.
Oh, don't even get me started. Oh my God.
And hopefully we can talk about if we accomplished our goal, and then maybe what our new goals will be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going forward after you've had time to like really dig your fingers into it.
Yeah.
And we couldn't be any more thankful for what you're doing for us. So
I'm happy to be here. So
we're happy
Thanks
to
for
have
having me.
you. This is
Very
Cassidy.
excited. Hello. Nice to meet you.
I'm Angie.
I'm Cassidy.
And I'm Angie.
And I'm still Cassidy.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you guys for joining us. We hope that you guys have a great week, and tune back in next week if you missed Jay. If you didn't miss Jay, maybe wait for the 45 to 60 days.
Yeah. Catch new episodes every Wednesday, and follow us on Patreon. Buy us a coffee.
We have a
Don't-
Patreon now.
Yeah, we're gonna. Don't follow us on Twitter because it's not active. Catch us on all forms of social media under moregooderIdeasPodcast.com. I don't know why I put .com in there, but it is. Thanks.
You need to hire her, people. Have a great night, day. Gosh, dang it. We're out of here. Bye. God. It was because I did too good.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the More Gooder Podcast. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at More Gooder Ideas, and search us up on Facebook, the More Gooder Ideas Podcast. And don't forget to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode.